Police Station Project Building Committee meeting number 6, to call it to order. It's a little after 5:30. We have a special guest here this evening. It's our new town administrator, Mr. David DeMonch. So if we just go around the room, you guys can introduce yourselves to him. So, Charlie?
Charles Sullivan, Selectman.
Paul Sadick.
Bob Joe Slicker.
Alvin Abbott, Chief of Police.
Mark Fornashai, Freetown Police Department.
Ben Levesque, Police Department.
Taylor McDonald, Pomeroy Associates.
Hi, David. Richard Pomeroy, Pomeroy Associates.
Great. Nice meeting you all.
Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Andrew DiGiello from
And I just want to make mention that we are taping the meeting through Free Lake, and is anybody else taping the meeting? No? Okay, we're good. Thank you. First thing on the agenda, approval of the 8:24 minutes. Did anybody get those? I didn't get them. Did you? All right, I thought I missed them. All right, I'll make sure that those go out tomorrow. And then, Rick, do you have anything for us?
I can jump in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You knew I was adding up numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can jump into something while Andy's still setting up.
Perfect.
So we did get a proposal from Langone and Associates to perform a radio system review, and that includes a propagation study too. So the chief brought copies of that. But what it does, it'll go through the radio systems for the police, fire, and DPW. Basically taking a look at any existing vendor quotes regarding to the radio systems, look at the communication systems for all the sites, meet with the representatives of police, fire, and DPW, prepare a diagram of the radio systems, and basically recommend the best system for all those sites in order to get the radio system up to standards here. I guess there's a lot of issues with communication of the radios with all the departments. So we've had Langone perform this type of survey for 3 towns now. It has been very helpful. His cost is right around what we've seen. It's actually a little less here to do this report. It's $9,000. It's a very extensive radio report. So again, the chief has reviewed this and thinks it's a great idea to move forward on. Chief, do you have any comments? I know you spoke with Chick on the phone too.
So the background is, you know, the highway department is on a radio frequency that is very problematic, and sometimes a unit on the east side cannot talk to a unit in a sonnet. They have to try to go through dispatch. The police and fire radios are on a ultra high frequency, but because of the topography in town, we have serious problems in communicating into and out of a sonnet. We've had some help recently with Stop and Shop putting in a repeater system within their building, and Amazon, of course, did one in theirs, but we still continue to have problems. Four Corners, Hathaway Park, South Main Street, Juniors. Essentially, you're in like a Taunton River hollow, you know what I mean? So this study would tell us, among other things, what we would need to defeat those problems or overcome those problems in terms of towers or satellites and the technology that would be needed. Doesn't mean we have to do it, doesn't mean we have to do it immediately, but it certainly would show us what's needed, and we could plan or take steps to implement it. Also included is they're going to look at what would be needed in the police station for radios, etc. You know, the fire chief has talked about the need for the communications center to accept radio alarms. So instead of, you know, the dialers into the communications center, businesses would, when an alarm is triggered, whether it's fire or burglar, the signal would go to a radio frequency, be picked up in communications, alert dispatch, and then fire or police could be sent. I think the school system uses that now. They're using a radio, and I know a lot of businesses in Fall River are being required to move to that system as well.
Who's gonna come by?
But,
I just want to comment on something, Chief. The biggest advantage we found going this route, rather than starting with just a radio vendor, is there's pretty much 3 or 4 major radio vendors in the area in terms of product. You know, you have your Motorola, you have Johnson, things like that, that when you start working with one of those companies, they're pushing product. And we've seen the number that you're paying for these radios go through the roof. So what this does is it takes a completely third vendor eye on the look of what you need for your system. So you're not getting all these additional things that you don't necessarily need. It also looks at things that a vendor might not bring up in terms of things that you may need. So that's where we found the cost savings is on the side of having a third eye look at it and saying, listen, you don't need all this right now. We can show you what you might need in the future. But right now, if you wanted to bring all your radios, you know, up to par, here's what you need to spend, and here's how you need to do it. So that's where we've seen the cost savings come in. And it does seem like a high number for what he does, but it is a very extensive look. And really the biggest cost comes in that propagation study and him reviewing the area in terms of how the frequencies of the radios are, you know, moving through the town. So.
May I, does this include putting together a performance spec so that we can get pricing?
It does.
Okay, so to add on to what Taylor's saying, he will put together a non-biased performance spec that you can then go to all of the radio vendors and have them competitively bid this. And if you don't have that, then you're going to the radio vendor, as Taylor had mentioned, and they're putting together what they say you need. So now you can compare the price between a Motorola unit and a Kenwood unit, and you can weigh the pros and cons for that. So it gives you a lot. You're going to save that money in your bidding for your radios.
So you said that that's included, because at the bottom it says can provide assistance with developing procurement specifications and in negotiations if they will.
So I'm looking at 14, prepare planning budget estimates for radio and related equipment, separated as follows: minimum equipment required to open the new police station and additional equipment required for the remote sites. I'll confirm exactly what that includes.
Yeah, can you confirm that, because the last line just says can provide assistance.
Yeah,
it's almost like if needed.
When I spoke with him, he did say that was included, but.
So generally what you would do is, what he provides in, I'm sorry, can you go, what he provides in 14 is enough to go to the radio vendors and get pricing.
Correct.
So that, and that could be done, you know, internally without having his assistance. If he's going to be bidding it out, that's what he would be charging us, but we can clear that out.
Yeah, please. Also, and what happens if we don't go forward with it? I mean, not that we don't want to go forward with the new police station, but should the project be defeated, what does this do?
well, you'd still have a plan in place telling you what you need to improve the existing system,
Okay.
particularly the problems
So
in
plan
this.
A and a plan B?
Sort of, yeah. So, looking at a new police station and the infrastructure needed to support a efficient radio system. If the station doesn't go through, well, you cancel out the station part, but you're still gonna need those other components. So there are different solutions, you know, satellites that you can bounce radio waves off of, and you can use RF, or you can use microwave, things like that. But when you look at the terrain as you head toward Asona, it sort of goes, it's sort of like a cliff down to Asona. So you get a shadow, the radio signal can't,
As soon as you hit the forest, basically.
yeah, it's starting to,
Right on the
yeah,
forest.
yeah.
Anybody else have questions?
I just have a question. Do you guys have to stay with the same frequency? In other words, the same band, UHF?
Well, most of the departments are on UHF, and they're either analog or digital. But the federal government's been telling us we have to change the frequency to a different, I don't even know what it's going to be, because they want TVs or something like that. I don't know, wants.
Well, they may be reallocating those frequencies, but the only reason why I asked the question is because the fact that it's UHF is the problem, is one of the biggest problems that you're having down in the Soren. That is because it's UHF. VHF gives you far better coverage, but that may not be, I'm just telling you how it is.
Is that in the scope of this guy's study? Because
I
the
don't
performance
know.
of this frequency would have some effect on what type of equipment you're gonna buy and where you're
Yeah.
gonna locate it,
Yeah.
so I would think
Yeah.
that
I believe it is.
it is.
So the feds have, like, for example, the feds wanted everybody to go to narrowband, and they set a date, but then they waived the date and the requirement. So I think the same thing's gonna happen with the next step in the process. Because how can every police and fire agency across the country afford
It's
to?
big money.
Yeah, big money.
I also have a question, that I'm not sure that if this would be part of the scope of the project, since this is strictly for police department.
Well, this is
And
for
that-
police, fire, and highway.
No, but the project and the money from the project is coming out of a police station project, not
Yeah.
necessarily fire and DPW, so we may have an issue with that.
Well, it could be a separate article on, if you did a special town meeting for it, it could be a separate article on that.
Yeah, then,
So it could
then
be-
it wouldn't be part of this project, is what I'm saying. So you could do it separately, but if you're gonna pay for it out of the project money that's already designated for this project, you're not gonna be able to take it for fire and DPW.
You're saying the study.
The study, exactly.
Yeah, his study is for fire and DPW as well.
You're not gonna be able to do that. It's very specific.
Unless he modularized the study and said, this portion of the study is for the police, this section, which we would have to come up from either free cash or something else for the rest of the study.
Right. We
Um,
might have to do a matching fund. If it's 4,500 on this, then we might have to do a matching fund for 4,500 in town meeting floor. But this would be bumped back by Kim, no doubt, and probably the Attorney General as well.
Want me to have him break it out
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
3 separate proposals?
I mean, if it all works on one, you could have one being the tower and all that with, and then break out just, a module add-on if you wanted to go with the different frequencies for the different
Yeah,
ones.
that's what I'll have him do, because it's cheaper to have it all done, obviously, at once.
Right.
he was
I
gonna-
want it all done at once, but
Yeah.
I think that, I think that we're
That's
gonna
what
have to
She's saying the
do
study
it.
itself.
Yeah, just the study.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's,
Well,
Is that a possibility?
My point, what I was gonna say is, why don't we just put, it's $9,000. It isn't something that has to go along with the police station, because this is a problem that's been in existence
Totally
forever.
agree.
Why
So
don't we
what
put
I-
a special town meeting article on for
That's
this?
fine, but we have to make a decision.
Yeah,
You know what
I would
mean?
put a
We can't
special
have
town
it-
meeting
we
article on
can't
this
do-
time
We
around.
can't do both.
No,
Okay.
but if we did a special article, you could do it for all three.
Absolutely, that's my point. Like, if
Yeah.
we
It's
do it part of this
Yeah,
project.
oh, it's needed.
If we do it part of this project, the fire and DPW, part of it will not be covered.
Right, you're right.
But if we do it as a separate warrant article for the 9,000, it will be covered at
Yeah,
town meeting.
that's what I would
And then
suggest.
that way, I mean, people will ask us, why aren't you doing it part of the project? And the answer is because we also want to make sure that we cover fire and DPW.
Right.
Do you follow me?
Yeah.
it's the
It's
most
very
bang for the buck.
specific, so we gotta be really careful on how we spend the money.
Yeah, no. So you're talking October special town meeting? Yeah.
And
We
not
got
get
time
it
to
out
do
of the
that
project.
stuff?
Yeah, the warrant articles, can you put that together?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
So, I'll have him put together the
What's the
police as the
deadline
main
for the
study.
articles now? Do we
Module
change?
1, fire, module 2, DPW.
It was the
And he
18th.
can break it out that way as to what the cost
No.
of those.
No,
is.
no,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
do
do
it all
that.
together.
The
Oh,
14th.
you gotta do
it.
No, separate.
Because if
Special.
we're doing a warrant article
October
for the
18th,
town meeting,
October
then we're not
No, no,
gonna
no.
take
No,
down this
September,
project.
October.
We're not
Oh,
taking
the
nine
whole
out of
thing
the
will
project.
go
We're
in.
gonna do it totally separate.
All right.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, do you want that as a motion? I'll make a
Motion.
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay. Who made
Motion to
that?
put, Mark made the motion,
Okay,
We're gonna put this
just
on the
as a
town
warrant
meeting.
article and
put
not
this
have-
whole as a warrant article
All right,
and
So-
standalone.
And I
She
have
did
a
it put
second.
together.
Yeah.
all right, any further discussion, Taylor? Go ahead.
I just want to say the one thing I do want to confirm is that we have the bid specs. He's putting together specifications for all this.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna see if I can just make sure that
It's
that's in
within the
there.
$9,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
he should be able to include it anyway, because he's already doing most
I
of that
just,
work.
that can instead of will,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
so let me get back to you tomorrow once I hear from him on
All
that.
right, perfect. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Lisa,
When is town meeting, special town meeting?
The 23rd?
23rd, yeah.
Yeah,
October
of October, yep.
Lisa, have you changed the deadline on the articles when they have to be in? Is it
When's
still,
it close?
is it the 18th?
Yes.
Still the 18th, okay.
18th is the Monday that we meet So it's closed that Monday, at 4.
Yeah, okay.
That makes it easier.
7th is 11 days.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on where our budget was, obviously, that we have
Right.
plenty to do,
No, I don't even-
you know, but,
Yeah, you never know what's gonna come up, and if this is something that the whole town needs for public safety, it's different than this project
And I think
specifically.
we need it whether we build a new police station or not, so.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Okay.
absolutely, it's because it's information that's useful years into the future too, so if you don't build a station, you know, God forbid, but it's still something you can work towards.
You had anything else, Keelan?
I think that was pretty much it for really new business on my end, yeah.
Okay. It's all yours, Andy.
Okay, thanks, I'm just gonna get in the area. Pass it. Okay, hi, thank you. Picking up where we left off last time, give you a report as to what I've been doing and what my goal is, and to get to the next step of where I feel we need to be. So we talked about the floor plans extensively last meeting, and some changes were recommended, which I've incorporated into the version that you have in front of you. So we can review those changes. And I've spent a lot of my time since last meeting starting with the consultants, and particularly with the site consultant. Given that we have a site that has some issues, we have some topography to deal with, and it's a corner lot and some other things, so I wanted to engage him as soon as we could. My goal is to get you an estimate based on the schematic design. That's what I feel the next big step would be here. So that's what I'm leading towards. So I need a lot of information from the consultants that would go out to the estimator. We can talk about that in the end. But I want to talk about where we're at tonight, and so you have the vision of where I want to end up. I want to end up at that estimate as the next step. So let's go into the floor plan to talk about some of the changes that we made since last time. Bless you. So we're looking at the ground level plan here. In the lobby, one change we made is that we brought the entry doors into the meeting room forward so as to get rid of this small cubbyhole or hallway that somebody could duck into and not be in the line of sight of somebody at the front desk or from dispatch. That was the first change I made. That caused me to have to reconfigure the lobby a little bit. We didn't give up any seating or display cases, but they did get configured a bit. For instance, the drinking fountain has been pushed over towards the male and female toilet room. So really that's all to talk about in there. The training meeting room is the same. I just brought that forward to get rid of that little nook that was caused by the recess. I made quite a few changes. I made some changes in command administration. Not in any relationships or room sizes, but I reconfigured it. What I did was I took a little over 500 square feet out of this floor plan and have redrawn it with that so it was about 505 square feet I took out. I knew it was there and I could tighten it up, so I spent the time and tightened it up before I started circulating it to the consultants. One of the things I did was I took the workspace for command administration out of this area and rotated it up. So there's been a change in the administrative assistant area and their workspace. Still has the same size and configurations, but I basically rotated the workspace up here, which has allowed me to shorten up this center portion of the building, which is one of the ways I got 500 square feet out. So that's one change to look at that we didn't talk about. Again, I did it to
save on square footage or reduce the square footage. One of the things I did do is I added a counter area that the officers could communicate with dispatch and communications by coming up to this counter without actually going in. I added that, and in the same time, I moved the emergency electrical down to here, down near the vestibule, and I made 2 rooms now. We have a room here that I'm calling flexible, or a spare, I believe. And I made another room down here because there was some uncertainty as to how you would, or who would watch a status offender when they were in. So I've made another one over here and kept this room. This room is now open as a spare, or this room, depending on where you chose to put that use. The armory and the gun cleaning, the walls became a little bit thicker because I added a 5/8 bulletproof material in case there's an accidental discharge. So I took care of that. I just made a note for now so we can make note of it in the estimating that we're going to put screens above the main desk over here, and to make sure we have the slide-through tray arrangement that we talked about at the last meeting. So that was really just handled in a note. Roll call has been walled off. Put walls up there, and one of the bigger changes is we took the break room and we moved it into the patrol area, and we took one of the assistant's offices and moved it up to here. I think that's the accreditation. I'm having trouble reading it from here, but that would be the accreditation office, which we moved over where the break room is. I did talk to the programmer about this floor plan, and he doesn't mind the swap, but he is bothered by the break room in here, and suggested that maybe we slide the break room all the way down to here, so that roll call, reports, and sergeants could all be together. He feels strongly about that, actually. So that was a big change I did. I also I made these 2 rooms, one's a dedicated interrogation room, the other one is a shared meeting, or could function as an interrogation room. I added the doors that I was asked. I made them the same size, and I added the doors from investigative into it from over here, but kept the doors from the hallway. We had talked about that last time. That's a small change that took place. Other than that, everything is about the same. I just tightened it up, made some rooms a little bigger, some a little smaller, based on specifics in talking with the consultants. And I've now gotten the first ground level plan down to below 13,000 gross. It's 12,900 and some change. So a little more than 500 square feet came out of it. Still all the same, building access and exits, staff entry here, prisoner release over here. This is the stair exit. There's a stair that goes up to the attic. You exit out here, and the vendors can also enter in here and go up to service the mechanicals up in the attic and the IT space. All that's the same. I'm showing an outline of how big an elevator shaft would be if ever put in. We're developing this space that it could take an elevator. If a shaft ever went in, this would become the machine room behind, and it could install that way. That was added. Everything else is about the same, it's just smaller. Any discussion on this?
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing, sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
I added a place for a kennel. Down here where we said some extra room in the sally port. The exact logistics of it and where the doors goes we'll have to discuss, but that's what this space is right now, where you could kennel the canine. Okay.
All right. Do you guys have any preference on the break room and the roll call?
Yeah, I mean, I personally like it next to the sergeant's office. Because I like to know who's in there. That's the point. I'm not afraid of walking either. I would hope the same for the guys I share the office with. It's not that far away. It's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
So if I put the break room right by the vestibule to go out, like I don't have any idea really who's coming and going theoretically. So I do like that being together.
And the other reason to keep it there, if you look at the status office, and I mean, it's not gonna happen all the time, but the status offender room that we have there, you don't really wouldn't want it right in front of our break room. Because
That's
we
probably,
do take a few liberties while we're in there, and, you know, it's better off where it is, and with the floodplain here, as the side said, you can walk.
But do you feel it's too close to the interrogation room?
Well, I was
The
just
break
looking
room?
at that, yeah.
Because the interrogation room and that shared meeting room, which we talked about having like the video and stuff, so, I mean, that's right across from the break room. I think that that would be a disruption you might want to think about. I have no idea.
Depends which one they use. If they're gonna use the interrogation room by itself, the doors and everything else, all that is a blank wall and a hallway. They're gonna close the door, so it shouldn't be a problem that way. With the meeting room, you know, if we had an overflow, we probably wouldn't be using the break room at that time anyhow, because the way we work, all hands would be out
yeah,
there.
that'd be a flat out.
It'd be a flat out thing, so if we're using both of those, I don't think it would be a problem.
Michael McEwen, the programmer, his other idea was if we did slide it down here, you could possibly have the entry off the vestibule. That would really solve the noise problem for sure. This could be a solid wall, and you would get to the break room through the vestibule.
Sergeant Lepek's point, that you would never know
Yeah, that's
who's
the,
in
that's
and
the
out
option
of
I'm
there.
looking for.
Yeah, and you definitely don't know where
Yeah,
they're going.
I
Could you,
just,
could you swap the break room with the report prep and just slide the break room down a little bit, maybe?
Yeah,
And not all the way
obvious-
down to status offender, but yet you're still away from the meeting?
Obviously, these three rooms you could treat like a shell game. You just kind of slide them around.
How would that be, Ben? Yeah, you kinda like where it is.
yeah, I mean, I do.
Yeah.
And sound can be dealt with the interrogation room with, bad insulation too. Just in the ceilings and in the walls. Shouldn't
Yeah.
hear anything.
Got a good idea for the ceilings on this building.
I just want to make sure.
Just a quick question. Earlier you mentioned the programmers had an issue with that. What was their issue with the break room being next to the sergeants?
I think he's concerned about the noise thing and what's going on here. He likes it down close to this door coming out. I think it's just more about noise. And not sure about this, but he really likes, he also likes the report room being adjacent to the sergeant's room.
I see Ben's point, 100%.
Yeah,
And I'm on the other side of it, so.
I would probably eliminate the door from detectives into the shared meeting room, so you only have one door. As far as the break room, I can see how the noise level in the break room could potentially
I can see both points.
interfere. Also, if you're bringing somebody in for interrogation or the meeting room, do you want them to see, a bunch of people sitting around eating or joking or, something like that?
What if you move the detective's office down for a clear,
Swap.
solid wall against the
Oh, and move
Move the meeting room.
Swap them.
the interrogation rooms to the top of the detectives. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the issue with that would be that the shared meeting room would get pretty far away from the patrol. That'd be the one issue there. You would also lose access from a hallway, which may not be a big deal, but right now the hall affords you can get into both from a hallway. If you slid them up, you'd almost have to form another hallway to get access. I think we could solve everything's a compromise, right?
you're right.
So, I think that we can solve it within here and find the best solution for, all those involved, without having to go outside of this, wall. I think we could move them around and get the happy medium.
Can we talk about file storage?
Sure.
So we don't have a central file room. We have files in administration, lateral files.
Yes.
Okay. then we have a file room over by the counter at dispatch. What are those files for?
Those are in the program as locked files, a locked file room. That was over by the reports room before. I was asked, one of the idea was to bring them into the report room. That was the note I had from last meeting, that we're gonna take the files and put them
Try to
into the
get 'em in
report
there,
room.
yeah.
Which I did. It's a little redundant. I had some space left over, so you still could have these two rooms are flexible right now. I'll show you
I think
some
those
pictures.
are personal files to the staff as opposed to agency files.
Okay.
Just wanna have a
So-
space.
But I did slide them into the report room. We had a file room here, I slid those into the report room.
So we have enough files in the report room for every officer.
Yes, well, yes, you know, going back to the room data sheets,
Yeah.
I pulled them off of there.
Okay. And then administration-wise, I guess all of the archive is gonna be upstairs?
No, I have an
There's one
archive
over
room
here.
here.
Oh, okay.
And I have an upstairs one also.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to get a rolling storage unit in, or is it not enough space for that?
Now we get tight, you can see what I'm dealing with here, and this
Yeah.
is the minimum size handicap bathroom. I'll do it up here so you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is the minimum, these are his and hers minimum handicap bathrooms. Here's your archive, and then here's your interrogation room, your interview room, which is right on to the size we specified,
Mhm.
right there, then we're into the hallway. So it'd be a trick.
Okay. I just wanna make sure that we have, for administration, we have enough files, archive, and then personal files for report for the officers. The patrol sergeants have files that they use in their office, correct? And then detectives have files that they use in their office.
Yep.
So we're really talking about administration and
Does,
the officer files.
does admin use filing a lot? Are they
We have-
pulling files a lot?
We would have all personnel files, medical files, psychological, internal affairs. Additionally, you know, every different vendors would
Yeah.
have their own files. And
I'm looking, what if we switched the archive with supplies? And that way the files are right next to admin, and it's a little bigger room. And you could even bump it out if you had to, and then your supply room would be where archives is.
But that supply room also has to take a work surface, work
Yes.
counter, computer, copier. Doesn't look like there's enough room for that. This is a working area.
Yeah.
Can we get a count on the files? Can make sure that we have exactly.
right now I have, yeah, I can do that for you. 4 or 5 file cabinets, plus 3 lateral file cabinets. I'll get you.
And is the need getting less or greater?
The need is getting less because what we're doing now is we're scanning documents and holding them electronically.
So if we could meet today's needs, we'd probably be okay?
I think so. The only problem we have is with our old records that go back to, you know, the late 1970s, the incident reports, et cetera.
Could those go in the attic?
Yes, they could.
Okay.
That's what we're thinking
There's
of.
plenty of room up there.
This one is, I'm not really nitpicking, but I'm just wondering, we got 2 coat rooms in the hall, right in the entranceway by the training room and the meeting room. I'm just wondering if we really want to bother having coat room there.
Well, it depends if we have 70 people in here.
Yeah, but they can still bring their coats and drag them over the back of the chairs, and there's 2 less spaces we gotta worry about people throwing junk in. That, you know, I'm just trying to think of that area, keeping it clean.
Well, if they use
And
it
under
as
supervision.
closets, even if they just kept them in there as closets, because there's so many things that
Sure.
come up that you need space.
But I mean, like one of them, we could turn around and add that space to the EOC storage. So
We
it'd be
could.
internal.
We could.
And
Mhm.
just one less thing for people to have to take a look at and for dispatch to worry about as they're coming in.
Yeah, that's concern that I have is just people coming in from dispatch and they have hide spots.
That's right.
Right, so if it was a closed door or a door on the other side for
Yeah,
storage,
if they had access for the first one, if they had access into the meeting room where you just made that part of the EOC storage room, that would be fine. And I don't know what you do with the second one besides
But-
just,
We may actually eliminate that
Mhm.
with the following idea. That public interview room, an officer has to leave the station, go into the hallway, and then go into that room. In many stations, there's an entrance to that room for the police, and then there's a public entrance. If we move the doorway down,
Are you thinking about getting rid of the coat closet and then making a door?
possibly. If we move this door like over here,
Yep.
right, so that would secure the public from coming in.
Yep.
But then it would allow an officer to go in through a door into this room, and then we have a door for the public to enter. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith is buzzed in to sit down there. The officer, instead of having to come out and around, would just come, under protection of the station, would come in to that room. All we would need is a desk, a couple of chairs, and the Mercs.
And there's actually an opportunity to put the Mercs here. I ended up with a space unused with this maybe could go, and you've got a clean rectangle to work with. But that's definitely doable.
Sort of, yeah.
how wide is that
So
main lobby?
now,
I mean, how big
the
are you
officer
thinking
never
that?
has to leave.
That main lobby is
And that'd be their entrance.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
12 feet.
12 feet wide?
Yeah.
And that seating, is that, where it says table and chair storage, those three little things, is that for seating?
There and there is seating on both walls.
Okay.
Yes, 6 chairs.
So you think about getting rid of the other coat closet and making a larger EOC storage.
Well, we can't now because we just lost the other one. Do you want to get rid of both of them?
yeah, what do we need
You
them?
need
It's in the
anybody use a
program.
coat closet
Oh,
anymore.
I mean,
Yeah, because,
Make it storage for, on the other side, I mean, but don't get rid of storage, because you're
no,
going to
not get rid of storage, I just don't
have it
want
for a coat
open,
room.
open doors in the
Yeah.
hallway.
because, could we put like a coat rack in the meeting room itself?
The back walls.
Yeah, the
and
back
stuff.
wall.
Books on the walls.
Instead of, a actual room?
You just do
Boy.
a shelf and a rod.
You know, technically, they could get you on flame spread. That's like hanging material on the wall, I guess, but
Yeah,
Um,
why not make it on the end of the EOC storage room on the inside? If you're worried about for the people meeting.
I'm sure I can figure it out if we want to keep it. All I really need is a decision as to whether or not you want to keep it or not.
Well, let's talk about the pros of having a coat room. Convenient for the public, it's an inclement weather day or something, they could hang their stuff up. But I'm not sure that would be big enough to accommodate 60 people at a meeting or something, you know what I mean?
And even with both of them still there, that wouldn't be.
I think between two of them, I don't think, no matter what, I think there's some people that wouldn't use it, no matter what.
I think most people can.
I've never used one in my
I
life.
wouldn't use it.
I have to give somebody $1 for a coat check? No
Yeah,
way.
I never, yeah.
2 for you.
$2.
Oh, I got a big coat. Could we slide the EOC down so it's a common wall and have if you do have a coat closet only accessible from inside the meeting room?
Well, yeah, a
That's a
coat
good
closet
idea.
or storage, and
Yeah.
then they can't get to it from the hall.
Right,
Which
because it'd be,
eliminates that
when there's
Yeah.
no public meeting on, that'd be a locked door, so they
I
wouldn't
think-
be able to get
I
access.
think that's the
to it.
best idea. I think just mirroring the two.
I have it, of course.
Yeah.
That's because you didn't want to pay $2 for your coat.
That's it.
We're gonna get rid of the one across the way?
Make that an entrance to the.
That's become a door.
Yeah, okay.
You could mirror it and take the doors right off that coat closet, so it's just an open,
You could,
that way people know it's
Yeah.
a place to hang your
Yeah.
jacket.
yeah. Okay.
That way things don't collect there too.
question, Chief. You would have people that are coming in from the general public to pick up maybe a prisoner or pick up somebody that's in custody, come through and enter like you would normally would in the current police station and go to dispatch? Or would
Somebody's coming in to bail a prisoner out?
either bail a prisoner out, pick
Yes.
somebody that's been bailed up out?
So normally they would come in, drop off money, or be asked to wait. When dispatch is notified that the police, that the detainee is released, we can then direct the people out to this parking lot where the detainee will be.
Because the only concern I have with that, and that's what I figured you were talking, is if you are using this as a public meeting room for whatever meetings. We have different town meetings every night, there's something different except for Friday nights. The commingling of persons here and people going to meetings, I don't know if that's what you were thinking, or if you were trying to, there's something a little more formal to the prisoner release area where, you know, they would buzz there and do their transactions and stuff there, how that would work.
Well, I think anybody coming into the station, the initial stop would be at the dispatch area.
Okay.
They then could be directed, you know, to wait over here, you know, for the prisoner to be released, or they'd be invited to sit down and wait, and then notified when the prisoner was being released.
Okay.
I mean, it is possible that an officer might just walk, depending on
I just
the
didn't want,
demeanor of the detainee. It is possible the officer would just walk the detainee out to the lobby.
my issue was more commingling with people that are doing town business up here, a zoning board meeting or a conservation commission meeting here, and then people that maybe of an unsavory nature either being released through that area or.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the idea would be to release all the detainees through this port.
I agree.
But I mean, you are gonna, I can't tell you how frequent it's gonna happen, but you will have characters in that lobby while you're having meetings,
Right.
you know?
Sometimes the people that come to bail people out end up getting arrested themselves, they warrants themselves. It does happen.
Yeah, they'll get out of the lobby though, so.
But we don't necessarily want that in front of the meeting hall, you know,
It could be entertainment.
That's what it is.
it usually is.
The people in the meeting hall would think they were watching cops.
Cops live.
Yeah, YPD.
The only comment I have, Andy, is hopefully, once the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers get a hold of this, they may come back and say that this is a good-sized room and we can put the emergency electric as a component to that.
I have the same thoughts.
All the conduits and cabling and everything else, it gets expensive, because we get the generator here, with all those people.
The only thing I'm worried about is
You have to wait till the work comes out till 8
I'm
o'clock.
worried that we have to call
Leave,
them.
and they'll wait around.
Oh, because, they told me that's gonna require a tank.
Really?
Very,
Yeah, right.
but,
You know, right,
yeah. And the other thing is, you gotta choose between a door coming out of here or a 2-hour reading in that room because of the fire pump. So, right now I'm developing the site with a door there in case we use that option. Yeah. So, kinda letting that flow.
These are the things we worry about. This is what keeps us up at night.
That's why I'm paying you.
I wanna figure that one out
Even
because
if
when we
we
use
use
it.
it,
Could we, if we're doing a fire pump, could we put the tank upstairs?
you know,
I can't answer that, but it's a
It might
good,
be
good idea.
a concept.
Then we'll write that down. Yeah, I just want to talk about that kennel for a minute.
Guys,
Andy, before you go, could we go back to the lobby for just 1 second?
Sure.
If we make adjustments for the coat closet and basically beside the public interview room, now, is that an extra space behind the chairs that you have there?
I was going, well, now that we're putting that door in there, it is an extra space, but I'd like to use that for the Merck's closet.
Okay.
And then that'll give you more room in that room, especially now with 2 doors swinging in.
Why I ask is, at the Swansea Police Station, in the lobby, they had a circular seat that was built in. And,
Yeah, I've sat on it before.
okay. Well, I
Waiting
like,
to be interviewed for the job.
Oh, I thought bail.
I I liked that because you couldn't move. You wouldn't have any chair throwing or anything like that, which I see
Oh,
the possibility with even a bench type.
Yeah, we could bolt the chairs in.
I just wanted to make sure that if we went that way, there was enough of a room that,
Not, and have handicap accessibility and
Yeah,
circulation.
I don't think there's enough circumference there.
It's 12 feet wide, is that what you,
Well, the other thing is, if you just had, what, looks like 6 chairs, 3 on each side there? If we bolted them down and made them permanent,
Well,
we don't have, not inviting too many people just to sit there.
Well, and
Right.
it can also be,
Like
it can
the
also
old
become a
mission
bench.
style,
They don't have to
you know?
become-
And I kinda like the way Acushnet did theirs, is in comparison to that, there ain't no chairs. And, you know, if,
yeah, but if you get an elderly person,
Sure,
it's,
so-
you know, the car's broken
beanbag chairs.
down.
so if we go with the 3, we'll
Yeah.
probably still be able to
They
take
can't
care
hurt
of that.
anybody, can't hurt anybody with
Just
that.
look around the table.
yes.
Speak for yourself.
You're lucky you're way down there.
So none of these comments, and all of them are very good, and we will be tweaking and moving things around, all the way through this schematic design and design development process. It doesn't appear that any of this is going to change our general square footage, and wouldn't make any difference in a schematic estimate.
Right, and I feel like I have it real tight now. That was a legitimate 500 that went away.
Okay.
And I got it under 13,000, which was my goal. I just thought, this was added on after the meeting, by a phone call. I like the idea
Yeah,
of making provisions for a dog. I just want to talk to you.
real good idea.
That is a good idea.
And, they took it further, maybe the door should come out this way, and maybe there's a little outdoor area fenced in, or just a little guidance on how to set it up, I guess.
Well, when you had if you look at your plan here with the retaining wall, it looked like on that side there'd be a little bit of room between where the retaining wall meets the back of the building,
Yeah.
which would give you a little grass area maybe to put a chain link fence around and have either a pass-through door where the dog could go through a pass-through door, which would be,
Be on this end, right?
yeah, right around here. See the space here between the sally port and the end wall?
Possibly, yeah.
You could
Inside.
have a small area there,
I know.
so the dog could have some outside room plus inside room.
You want him to have a place to go. And I mean go.
Go, yeah, well,
It wouldn't be his permanent home, right?
no, his permanent home is with the office. If the officer's gonna come in and write reports, if the officer's coming in and write reports, he's not gonna sit have the animal in the car while the car's running. It has to be,
That's what's happening right now, the dog stays in the vehicle has to run because you need to have the dog in a controlled environment. The canine officer has an alarm. If the temperature goes down in the vehicle, the windows will come down, the fans come on, it signals the canine.
Yeah, the horn starts honking.
yeah.
That's a big investment we got there.
That's a great idea, though, to have it come out right onto that
Yeah.
grass area.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
I don't know who had that idea, but they were on their A game that day.
Must be the guy with the green
Every once in
shirt.
a while, I have moments of clarity.
Okay. Up to the
I
attic.
think it was because I would make my canine coded donations. T-shirts are still available.
So I've done a little coding on it. Well, you can see the areas out of the program space have been drawn out and delineated, but I've added 2 hatched areas. One is a single diagonal hatch, which you see right here. This is future development space at full height. And don't forget, this is a slope roof. This, with the cross hatch, is sloped space. So the height would start at 0 on this edge and that edge and slope up to full height. And here you can see where it's hitting full height. And actually, this is not 100% correct because I'm developing a dormer in here that would actually get us some full headroom right out to the front. I'm going to make that number. So it'd actually be a little more than this. Full height space. Now, that's not to say that these spaces, and this is full height, these spaces could also, depending on the use, you know, bleed into this space a little bit. Full height being 9 feet, considering it. And the hatch, it tells you what the hatch is down here.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Yeah.
On the slope storage areas, would the plan there be to basically just plywood it and you'd have sprinkler protection in there?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the envelope analysis are coming back now that you should, you know, put the insulation up in the rafters and condition the whole space.
Yeah, and then you don't have to
rather
do
than
it
these cold areas
dry,
that-
you don't have to do a dry system
Right,
too.
right. So,
You
yes, that would be the plan.
Forego the pump there.
I will caution you on the storage areas, though, is that paper storage can get extremely heavy. You know, you start getting over 3 cases, you can approach, you know, 250 pounds per square foot very quickly. So you do have to be careful because we don't want to design for, you know, a 200-300 pound load up there. But, you know, about 3 high kind of thing, design.
What's your roof pitch?
It's a 5 pitch.
It's a 5 pitch, so you're coming up how far before you actually have any real usable space, if that stops at 0?
This is 22 feet right here.
22 feet, so 5 pitch, you're at 8 feet in before you start having quality usable space, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot.
Yeah, about 8 feet, correct. Yep.
So, from a structural perspective,
Yes.
I know, I hate asking these questions, but have you thought about the framing and what would
Yeah.
be used for that?
Thought about it a lot.
Okay.
So, let's talk about that for a minute. I'm gonna go back a slide. I was gonna talk about this anyways.
Okay.
So, you clearly can see the detention L here. The detention L is gonna be built out of concrete. The walls are gonna be CMU. And then, right now, I'm looking into making the ceiling/floor out of concrete plank. So that would be a real nice clean finish for this room. It'd be completely concrete, and it would be a nice floor for what we're planning on doing up top. So that's where this dimension line is just calling out that that's concrete block construction. So this is almost like a type 1, non-combustible, non-destructible construction. You can clearly see it defined by the hatch right here. The rest of the building is a type 5 construction wood frame. However, for a nice clean structural system, I developed a grid where I run steel girders this way across. So my girders are going to run this way across. I believe I have 5 bays I'm working with now, and the wood members are all going to frame this way, both rafters and floor. So these steel frames will come up, pick up the floor, keep going, and pick up the roof. There'll be one located at the ridge exactly to pick up the roof ridge, and then 2 more going back on each side. So you'll have 5 structural bays throughout the building, which we're going to locate some of the girders closer to each other, and those would be the spaces that would be ideal for the heavier storage and whatnot, which we'll designate for you. But yes, so a wood frame floor, Rick, with a steel girder system that would support it. Very simple and clean. Everything, all the members running this way in wood, all the steel members running this way.
Okay.
So steel and column, but the wood frame walls we're just going to take advantage of, and those will be bearing. So there won't be any steel out at the perimeter. The problem with steel in the perimeter is then you have a task ahead of you. Then you're framing in walls to make window openings, place to run wiring and stuff like that. So the nice thing about wood frame in a building like this, you get that all in one plus the structure. Laterally, we're going to make, we got plenty of wall here to make shear walls on the outside, and we'll make some rigid steel on the interior. It's not bad though. We got almost a 1-to-1 ratio on the building, so laterally we'll be fine with those shear walls and the steel girders that we can use for some bracing on the interior. So that's the plan.
And then the rafters on the 2nd floor.
Correct.
So,
So you're gonna wanna support solar panels?
Yes. Yep.
So I have a question about that.
Yep.
would it be a better strategy to build it and put everything in place to accommodate solar panels in the future, rather than paying for them and incorporating them during the building? In other words, there may be grants and subsidies out there to put solar panels on an existing building, but not on new construction.
Right, so that's typical, I usually go through that exercise with my clients, and I've had it come out different ways for different situations. I think it's our job to investigate it and find that out, the answer for your question. But we always plan for it. We always plan for it, and then whether you do it right away or not, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll talk to the right people at the right time to make sure we're doing the right thing.
There is some extra programming space for that because you need transformers, and actually inverters, you need space for those type of things, with extra
Right.
wire trunks
Yep.
and stuff, so.
So we'll plan for all that, and we are planning for all that.
Your roof construction over your cell blocks, where you want to put drive bays on the second floor, what are you doing there?
Well, so on the second floor here, now it's delineated by this dimension line again. It says concrete plank construction. You can clearly see the L. So on the first floor, you'll have a slab on grade, then this will be concrete block walls, then our concrete slabs will come over that. Then you pour a topping, concrete topping over there. Then we'll just go wood frame from there up, on top of the concrete plank. And so these wood frame walls will just tie in with all the other ones. And this will come in like a dormer. We'll look at the massing again on the screen. But yeah, so after the concrete plank, we're back to wood.
So I'm interested to think about, in the future, what our configuration would be for our roof trusses, so that we can be as economical as possible, because it could very well be that, depending upon the truss design, those slope storage areas, we're gonna have cords and
I'm not using
construction
trusses.
zones. You're not using trusses at
Straight
all?
rafters from beam to beam.
Okay.
So just like the line of structure pick up the floor joist,
Mhm.
they're gonna keep going and pick up the roof
So you're gonna run the steel up to the second
right
floor?
up through.
Okay.
Just two beams stacked. That'll be the most economical and cleanest way, and the fastest way to build.
Hurricane strap right up the steel.
Well,
into the rafters.
it's good you brought up that point, because one of the concerns on a big roof like this is uplift,
Right,
especially at a 5 pitch, because
parachute.
you got the wind coming to the eaves, but the bigger problem is on the leeward side. There's a massive suction force, a massive pulling, and but that's all solved with our tie down to the steel. We got that licked on this one. Trusses have a long span, big uplifts at the ends. These repetitive members going to the steel are going to be locked in at each one. Well, that'll solve that.
If you put your insulation in your rafter bays, instead of on the floor, you're gonna lose circulation there. Your ridge, how are you gonna circulate air to your ridge vent? Are you putting something between?
Well, we'd be doing a warm roof. We won't be ventilating. You can't do both. Or
Right.
You can't do half and half. You're either gonna have a warm roof or a cold roof. We're shooting for a warm roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You talk with your hands in.
I'm afraid you're gonna hit me. You're getting so excited, you keep moving over.
How big exactly? No.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a warm roof, or that's what I'm planning on at this point.
So do you wanna walk through the second floor?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So do we understand the hatched areas? So let's talk about the space. Of course, the fixed items are the stair. And I drew in, that's where the elevator shaft would land. So if you could picture in the future, this hallway would extend and you'd come up the elevator right there. So here's your stairway. At the top of the stairs, I formed almost like a vestibule where from this vestibule, say a vendor comes in, they can go into the IT workroom and the computer area or work in the mechanical room without going into the other spaces. So that's how I set that up. A good idea that came up last time is I made sure now that, and I have the count on there, we have enough lockers. We have, what was it from memory, 35 or 32? Anyways, I'm showing the amount we need, the 35 or the 32 to start with.
32.
But the idea that came up was that the space behind it could become future lockers, if you ever had to grow to the department. Over here is the female space with 8 lockers and then room to grow this way in the back. So now these are fully expandable if you add anybody to the force. That was a good idea we came up with last time. Up here again is the IT, that's strategically located over the communications and dispatch area. This is the workroom. Right here, over in this, beyond the vendor area is archives. This is more archive storage, right in here. This is also, like I'm saying for now, this space could also be used as storage. And this would be a very good paper storage area because the concrete planks could be designed to take quite a load. The fitness room is located over the prisoners instead of over the chief's office on the concrete planks over here. And down here, as we look at the site plan, this is where you could drive up for impound vehicle storage and just miscellaneous vehicle storage with some maintenance storage behind it. And here you can see I'm developing, we could bring this concrete block wall up and reinforce it. We could design it to take the load of a vehicle if anybody went too far. The chief was concerned about that last time. It's very common to design for that, and we do these parking levels. We design the rail to take the impact if someone went too far. It'd be very similar to that. So that's what I've integrated in there right now. So the only change I didn't make to the plan was I didn't open the fitness room up to the corridor. Just not crazy about that idea, even air change wise. Usually the air change in a fitness room is a lot greater than just the general other spaces. Usually by code you're changing that air a lot more in noise and everything else. So I didn't do that one. That's the one I didn't integrate from my notes, and that's the reason why. Square footages. It's 3,200 square feet of finished space upstairs, which brings you to 16,200, but there's about 400 square feet of redundancy that we could eliminate if we wanted to. That would put us right in the wheelhouse of the target 15.5. But I don't think it's going to cost anything to finish off those storage spaces that are in that 16.2. So I don't know if it really matters. We can look at that after the estimate. So I'm right there at the 15.5 right now, even with adding the stairways and the extra space for the elevator.
So I had come up with a little bit different figure, but I had added in the auxiliary impound in the square footage.
Yeah, that wasn't in the 15.5.
Right.
So that would take the place of the, I think we had slated 500 square feet for an auxiliary building, which would hopefully just go away if we didn't do that.
Okay. So that, just so everyone's aware, the cost to build the auxiliary impound area, my guess is being part of the building will be more expensive than if we were to do a pre-engineered metal building off to the side.
I'm not so sure. Here's why. You're getting the roof and the foundation for nothing, okay? You're paying for the concrete plank, but you'd have to put a ceiling over the. It's not going to be the same price, but you have to put a ceiling over anyways. So you're pretty close there. Now the beauty of this is that it's going to be very easy. It'd be quite expensive. I am developing an auxiliary building outside in the site plan, just in case the costs prove me wrong, but I'm hoping they don't. So I'm still going to develop that building as we go, and I'm going to do that. But my point is to run your services out there, electric, I don't know if you'd bring gas out there, then the gas oil separator gets separated way out there. We're tying this all into one tank right over there. There's really some good economies to this, just even with the services that would go out to a building. And you're definitely getting the roof and foundation for zero. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm hopeful.
And you're getting climate control as part of the building, where if you have an accessory building, you're gonna have to have either separate climate control or you're not gonna have it.
Heat, anyways.
Heat.
Yeah. So
And
that'd be quite a bit of money to run that out to there. But I am going to develop it, Rick. So we have both. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Anybody questions?
In terms of the estimate, Andy,
Right.
are you gonna have the estimator break out the cost for, the future storage areas, the future build-out areas, so that it's separate
You
from the
mean,
overall?
do you mean what it costs extra to make the structure such that you could have it, or if they were to build out in the future, what it might cost?
So I would look at that sloped storage area as, you know, it's free space, but what is the cost that we have to take on to put plywood in and to sprinkler it and to insulate it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I get you, and, we're definitely gonna, it would definitely upsize the structure a bit and have more plywood, but you would still be sprinkling those areas anyways. You would have to sprinkle up in this wood building. and
Yep, you
sprinkle
would.
down, so there's not gonna really be a difference that way.
So, this sprinkler system would be connected to a cistern or a reservoir?
Yeah.
Because,
Tank.
isn't, I don't know if the code would permit, but I think another system might be, instead of a tank, the fire department just hooks a hose, and, is that what they call it?
Standpipe.
Standpipe? Is
Yeah.
that, what are your thoughts on,
Um,
well, probably would save some money, right?
Yeah, it would. I think we're gonna have to do a fire pump here, and the question you're asking is in the next couple of weeks, and we have an expert who does those every day, so I don't wanna speak out of turn here, but, we can certainly look into that.
You might almost have to do both, so you have immediate water flow, and then when the fire department ties in, we'll replenish the water flow. You know what I mean? 'Cause we don't have town water here, up here. They usually use those Xerxes tanks, those 10,000 gallon Xerxes tanks.
So your engineers are looking at that.
Yeah, we've already started.
Okay.
Yep. That's my next big thing, is interfacing with the consultant, so we can get an accurate estimate at the schematic level. So let's hop back to the site. I brought 2 sheets of a large version on the table.
Andy, before we go to the site,
Yeah.
do you want the committee to take a vote on approval to send this to the estimator?
Sure.
So what was the total square footage?
So the first floor is easy.
Okay.
That's exact. Gross to the outside of the walls. Second floor is a little abstract. So I broke it down. The finished program areas and the corridor, which I put the corridor in because that did add some square footage, unfortunately, to get to that second means of egress, but it's certainly cheaper than a stair, another stair, and space-wise. But those two combined are 3,287 square feet. That would bring us up, if I can add, to somewhere around 16.2. Is that right, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, now there's 200 square feet, there's like, I counted the archive storage and this storage here in the future expansion, which if that went away, that would bring us almost right to the 15.5. But I think it'd be wise to finish these storage areas now, because I think it's gonna be pretty cheap. It's not gonna be as much as if you were building that with its own foundation and own roof on the first floor. So, that's with the finished space. Right now, we're at 16.2. I could get that under 16 just by taking away the redundant storage upstairs right now. Okay? Then, that would end here, and then this goes into the auxiliary building, which is another 1,000 and some change. We did put that in the program, but it wasn't in the 15.5. That was broken out as a separate, we're looking at either doing a 20 by 20 or 30 by 30 building, which I show on the site plan right there, Mary, see it?
Yep.
I'm still gonna develop that concept in case it comes out to be more economical than the attic concept. That's over there. So this space here, right now, is here. Hoping that if we don't do that, we get it right here and we wouldn't do that
That puts you at 17,315.
with that.
Yeah, with the impound.
With the auxiliary building.
Yeah.
What was the program? 15.2?
It was right around 15.5. It was 15.5 plus we were gonna either do a 20 by 20 or a 30 by 30 outdoor. Which, 20 by 20, in my opinion, wouldn't work. That would be too small. I would think you'd want at least a 2-bay kind of thing, right? You could have you said you don't have to keep the impound in there all the time, but it would be in there sometimes, wouldn't it?
Well, I think once it's processed, then you could move it out to a chain link fenced area. So maybe you wouldn't need 2 stalls.
So that impound area is what, you said 20 by 20?
No, no.
No.
Well, the
What is that?
auxiliary building, we're either
Auxiliary
gonna do
building.
20 by 20 or 30 by 30. This is simply the dimensions of what's below, which is pretty big. That's, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's 2.5 times 16, 32 plus 8, it's 40 feet. That's 40 feet across the front, by about 30 deep. So it's 40 by 30.
Let me offer something up here.
Yeah.
Your program was 15.5.
Yep.
And that was based upon blocks. And then you add your 20 or 30% circulation space. And my guess is that 20 or 30% did not consider a two-story building. So if I took the 15.5 and I added the two-floor area of the stair alone, you're probably over 16.2. And then your area for your future elevator, which is bonus space right now.
Yeah.
So I think by going to a two-floor situation, which you benefit from because you have future expansion capability, you've bumped your 15.5 up to that 16.2. Because I think it's the stair core and the elevator space.
Yeah,
that
it
you're
is.
using as bonus space.
But
You're
again,
pretty close.
just by getting rid of this archive storage, which you already have one, and this other storage, if you didn't finish it, we're down below
You could be, yeah.
16, just by doing that.
So you're actually below your program.
Yes, so I'm very interested in seeing how the estimate plays out with the space up here, which should be cheaper to build than on the first
That's what I
floor.
was just gonna say, yeah, you're getting a portion of that 15.5 or that 16.2, or it should be less to build
Exactly.
that portion.
Exactly, because we're not changing the foundation or the roof because of it.
Yeah.
And I think we're all comfortable going this route. I think we decided that early on. It's
Yeah.
the best bang for our
Yeah.
buck. So, I mean, if we have to sell it that way, that's the way we sell it. We're getting future space that we'll pay now, which will be shorter on the dollar than in the future. So, anyway, do I have a motion on the floor to move forward with the plus?
I'll make it.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, so I want to finish the meeting talking about materials on the exterior that I would use for the estimate. Okay, so let's go to, well, do you want to talk about the site, or do you think you understand it from other meetings? Let's just talk for a minute.
Has anything changed?
Nothing's changed, we just go more specific. I worked with the civil engineer all week.
Yeah, so if you, because we were worried about septics and the topography and how water would be,
Right.
stormwater management.
So he's provided 2 sheets. One of it is just a site layout. You can see what we've done now is we've actually gone into the zoning ordinance and made them the parking size. Right now, we have, I
Mark,
think.
can you just slide a little bit?
Which way?
Left.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep going. There you go.
keep going, sit right.
on your lap.
Carlton, if you have to.
Give him a hug.
Don't worry about it.
Give him a hug.
So, a quick overview. The public parking or visitor parking is here with main access into the building. I've developed a strong formal access that comes through and terminates in this flagpole planting area, which is going to then tie back to Memorial Park across the street. Then this is almost like, this is another public lot, but almost like overflow if we do develop this as a large meeting room. Between the two, we'd end up with about 55 spaces with the parking on the street and the 6 spots at Memorial Park. That would give us enough for everybody to park for this room without having to go into this employee cruiser area. So we have complete separation between cruisers and public. This is where the cruisers would come in, and then they have the option of a drive-through Sally Port. There's a gate right here where you could just swing a gate shut so that no one could come this way, but you could drive out that way. The other concept here is the fact that you come in and you can drive up with the retaining wall and drive into this area that we just spent a bunch of time talking about. So just as a note, this is a lot of parking for a police station. And it's related, we definitely have more than we need for staff. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but then we have more than you typically would give for the public. So I think for now we go with it, and then if we have to talk about costs, we can see about cutting that. And But remember, I'm developing, you can see it in the site plan, I'm developing the meeting room so that we can simply lop this off. Because the way I'm framing the roof and the way I've set up the room, if you just pulled this back flush, would save quite a bit of money, and then it would just become your 40 whatever people so you can do your training down from 70 just by doing that move. So I've developed it that way. And then with that, the parking would come down and so on and so forth. Maybe even the size of the leach field, because we're dealing with that now, and we're going to interface with the Board of Health, how do we determine our flow in this station? We'll have to talk about the meeting room and everything at that point. So this is just a layout plan. We got more specific about the parking. Everything worked out fine. We checked all our grades. Here's where we're planning on putting the well and the radius associated with it. That's the well there. Here's your two retaining walls, one there and one there. They pinwheel off the building. And here's that auxiliary building that we would use if we didn't develop this idea. So let me go to the utility. Yeah.
Just some things to think about. I agree with you in the sense that we go to pricing with this, and if we have to start looking at cost-saving measures, well, we're going to have to go through that. The retaining wall is expensive, the cutting of the site, but if we can think about, just keep it in your mind, the first thing that we would want to be doing is, as you said, cut back parking in areas if we can. But you could also eliminate one of the curb cuts, maybe the one along, I forget the name of that road.
This is Memorial.
Yeah, maybe the one along Memorial, and just have one entrance for the police station for the public, and then there's no confusion about where the public goes, because right now they could be confused and go into the police access road. So it's just this is what we're going to be thinking about after we get these estimates, is okay, where can we, if we have to, where can we save some money?
I agree, and plus if somebody if you guys are leaving really quick out of that road, you don't know who's coming in, if there's traffic or anything else on that other side. That always bothered me, but, you just go with it for now, but I think getting rid of that is.
So Lisa, you would eliminate
That.
Chase?
Chase, you mean?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would eliminate Chase. I'm just worried, like, if that's specifically their access in and out, and all of a sudden they need to leave really fast, and say we have something big going on, and town meter traffic, and they're in line getting there, that's an accident waiting to happen.
So, let me say this about the retaining walls, though. I think we're gonna be doing retaining walls no matter what. The retaining walls aren't just for the scheme. So you can see here, even though it hasn't been talked about, I've always kind of left an area for what I call future expansion. I just think it's a good practice, but also, if those floors have to come down from the attic, this is really where they gotta go. So we'll be coming off here with some of the staff support areas too. So I'm leaving that for future expansion, which if the attic idea doesn't pan out in the end, it may not be in the very...
I think you're gonna see it the other way around. More things will have to go into the attic and shrink the core space down. Shrink your ceiling, shrink your concrete, not add to it. Because that's where you're gonna get the most bang for your buck.
Right. This is a utility plan. We took a whack at the leach field. Now, granted, we made some broad assumptions here to get the scale of this, but we think this is about the scale of the leach field. We've applied setbacks now to get it back from the wells and the wetlands and everything else. What did we assume? We assumed what the flow rate's gonna be, because we haven't nailed that down yet. We also assumed, a perk rate to do what we did. But I just wanted to get it on there to show some kind of scale and that the site plan would work. You can see the well now, and you can see a water line running in from the well. So now we've got an idea where a well might go. We've got an idea where the leach field might go. This is the tank for the gas separator right here. That would handle both the Sally Port and the auxiliary building upstairs. If you can see this piping here, this is what we'd have to do if we did this building also. We'd have to pipe down and then into the tank. That just gives you an idea for any utility that we're going to run. We're coming back out to this thing. Anything that you might want in there. You're going to, of course, need power, some kind of heat. I don't know if you need water in there. I don't know. But that's that. And here's that future expansion area again. We're trying to keep the leach out of that area also, in case we need to use that space.
So, Robbie, when you're talking about cutting the core of the building or the bottom floor, Are you saying, before looking on the outside?
If you're gonna
Parking.
expand, if you, no,
Okay, all right.
no, parking first. No, to Andy's point, if the attic idea gets abandoned,
Mhm.
and now you need that core space, you're not gonna save money by expanding this building here and add more floor and more
Right.
roof. You're gonna save money by shrinking this building here down core size and
Yeah.
put some, maybe the offices upstairs, the administrative staff upstairs and that stuff. So your program space still stays 15,000 square feet, but your square footage, your ground footage may shrink down substantially. You're gonna use all that extra space that you don't have.
I think that we better find other ways to save money,
Well, we don't
Yeah.
have to worry about that yet,
okay?
right? My point was we have options. But
You have a
maybe we
lot of
don't need,
options with this.
maybe we don't have to
Yeah.
use them. I'm just trying to think of everything. Okay, so I'm done with the site if everybody else is. This is where I spent a lot of this week with the civil. So I wanted to make sure. Another thing that could really affect us is high water table.
Back to perks and where we are with groundwater, standing groundwater, what kind of material we have there,
Let's say that the water table was 3 feet down,
how you
Right.
raised,
it's just coming out of the ground,
raising the
2
system.
feet. We've got a long way to go, but this gives you, we're paring it down. So let's go back to I want to finish by talking about the exterior materials. We can start with this one. So my idea for this is, we got a wood frame building. The product I'm recommending, and I gave you an elevation sheet, that there's not many products to specify, but there's 4 major products to think about. That being the roof, which I think is a no-brainer here, is that we'd use a high-quality architectural asphalt roof. I think that'd be very appropriate for this kind of construction, the area, and everything else. What do you think about that on the roof? And there's going to be a lot of it, so it's a big part of it, and I think we can get a real nice color, has a lot of definition. I think that's the way to go.
Let's go slate.
I would love it, but we'd have to upsize those
Have to
rafters.
move the building to Wellfleet.
Then the sidewall, we got a wood sidewall, but I want to scale this facade to be more, in line with a residential neighborhood, but I don't want the informity of a house for a police station. So I want to bring formality through with a very strong, line of balance and rhythm, and let you know that you're approaching a police station and not walking into a house. So to give it that substance, I'm using proportion. You would start with a very nicely proportioned portico that you could see right here that leads into the glass vestibule. And then I would repeat these brick pilasters. So we wouldn't do a whole brick facade, but we would form these pilasters out of brick. And then the infill wood walls, I would propose like a Hardy Paint product, which is a fiber cement clapboard, which doesn't burn. It's usually factory painted and resists water very well. You got to get the details right, but it would be a very, it performed very well. I think would give a nice texture in between these brick piers, and between the two, I think you get a real powerful looking building.
This will be a north face.
This is the north, and the
So-
back, that big plane is going to be where your photovoltaic panels go, which is nice because you're not going to show your panels to the street side.
It's just cleanliness-wise, mold grows on the north side, so it's going to be something that's easily cleanable, easily maintainable.
Right. And then I believe a police station should be well lit out front, so you can see the lights up opposing, and then these will be blue on either side of the door.
Have you considered any operable windows?
Yes.
People.
I think that, my preference for a window here would be a quality wooden window like an Anderson A series. The exterior is completely maintenance-free, but has a very nice appearance on the inside and gives us a whole range of operation. I'm gonna at first try to get away from the aluminum window, but we got a few options here. Is that in the offices in this rooms here, I'm developing the transom idea. One of it is for appearance and scale because this has high ceilings, So you always want to set your window head height at the right height, which is about the height of a door. But then I want to go above that with transoms, and we can even look into the options of the transoms operating, even if these are fixed for security or whatever purposes. But these can also operate.
Casement style or something?
Oh yeah, these could be casement. And I like this proportion here because this is a tricky balance between the rhythm of the pilasters, the space left inside, and then the proportion of the window. And very particular about the window mullions and how they divide the glass. You always want to make sure that you're taller than you are wide, but you want to be as close to square as possible, which right now this would be squares.
Well, if they wanted privacy, the good thing is they could have the bottom part, if they had a blind,
Shade
and
down,
get
the
the
light
light on,
coming in,
coming in on the top without people seeing.
Exactly. Transoms are great. Transoms had a real purpose way back when. Mostly they're used for aesthetics now, but they used to use them in interior even, before air conditioning, where you could flip those open, let the air flow all through the building.
Right. A lot of the old fire stations and stuff had the transoms on top of the door, so you could open those up and let heat out.
Right. In the back, you see, and that's where the pre-engineered metal building would land if we went that way. That's what I'm showing you. There you can see the retaining wall to scale. And then up on top of it is, that site's heavily vegetated with a lot of pine, and then there's a lot of growth on the ground, a lot of ground cover.
Any cost-wise difference between architectural asphalt shingles versus, say, a metal roof?
A lot. A metal roof would be a lot more money, and all these details. Well, here's some of the details that would make this roof look nice. So this is the 5-pitch shooting up, and this is all in one plane. That's not a hip. That's just this perspective going back. But then what's going to make this building is, see these kicks? Mm-hmm. It kicks out and carries around rather than having an airboard. Those details in metal are just. And your average metal that's still a lot more money than this is basically painted metal.
Right.
It typically does not hold up well. Granted, a copper roof would be great, but the painted,
So would a slate.
the
But the
painted.
architectural have a long warranty.
Oh, it's by far the best bang. There's no
what
question.
you have
It's
on
not
that
even
town
worth
hall or
looking
the
into. I don't
schoolhouse.
think. And I think they'll look better.
Yeah, it's more appropriate to this area.
Right.
You can get a 50-year or higher shingle.
Yeah.
And very
Only
con-
hope the companies don't go out of business, that
Yeah.
make them, that's.
Did you ever cash one of those claims in? It's materials only prorated.
Yeah.
After 15 years, you get a check for $7.87.
Oh, I see, you went down that road.
That's it. So the materials that I'd like to pursue for the estimate. Architectural, lifetime, they call them lifetime now. Lifetime architectural shingles. Brick pilasters. Hardy plank siding infill and around the sides.
What's the base for the pilasters?
That base, I'm showing like a Renaissance product. You can get that cast product.
Mhm.
And I would try to find just a catalog size and then
Okay.
get the one proportion. But that's what I'm showing. And of course, a cheaper version is these could come right down and not have a base, but I always like to use the classical orders where you have base, shaft, and then
Oh, I
cabinet
think the
top.
base,
The middle school has
Yeah.
to meet
Yeah.
the base.
this is our first building, really good, new building in this area, so I think it's really important how this looks as far as what comes next.
Can you stay at the site for a second, because
Yeah,
this
so-
question's gonna come up when we go to.
Right, there's just another, I'll go to the site, I wanna come back to that. I think I'm going the wrong way. Something's wrong with the order here. It's confusing. Which one you want, this one or this one?
No, this one's fine.
I
It's just
We're gonna have this question at town meeting, that where are the other buildings in the future going to go? And somebody may vote down this project because there may not be enough for their own project. So is there still enough space on this site for another building
Yeah,
project?
we talked about that
Mhm.
initially.
Well, here's your
I
problem.
mean, this is probably the best spot.
No, I agree, but I know
And
that there are
so-
probably other buildings that,
The library, we
Yeah,
talked
to
about
to
library.
that point, we've got,
This is-
initially, we were talking about the PD being higher, so we're pushed up
This is a better
against the
one.
road.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the problem I see. This one here is smaller scale, so you start to see the highway department. You got a wetland here. And this is just my unprofessional, I made this site plan before I had a survey, so, you gotta forgive it a little bit, but, these are the wetlands, and I applied a 100-foot buffer, see that? So you're not doing anything here.
Okay.
That's out of the play. The other concern I have about up here is that you can start to see the elementary school and the drive around there.
Yeah.
Those well radiuses were reaching out to about here.
And we just put in our well.
And our well will go
Right,
here.
there, yeah.
So while there's plenty of room for a building here, you gotta take a real look at, septic in the radius of the well would be your big, you got enough room, you'd have to watch out for that well radius and what you did with a septic. Maybe you could, share a septic either with, over here or over there or something, but.
Or share a well, I mean,
You
wells
could
are
definitely
shared.
share a well, it just, if you share a well, the radiuses could get larger on the well,
Unless we go to town water.
right? So here's so see the scale of our building, Lisa?
Yeah.
And we've actually gotten a little bit smaller since then, that's before the 500. So you can see, you could easily get, 14, 15,000 square foot building here with parking. The challenges would be the
I
reach
just
of
wanna-
the well.
I just wanna make sure that, if the question comes up, we can still say, yes, there is available land for another building, albeit we'd have to look at septic and water at the same
What
time.
about the police station? Would you-
Yeah, we haven't,
would- is that gone, and then now you've got that space for,
totally agree with you. I mean, there's other options, and when we bring back, once we get this project moved forward, then we can bring back the building committee to start looking at some of the other options, and we're talking about water and septic down, down on the other side of town. But I know specifically, because remember, people wanted the library to be built first, almost, and then, the committee decided collectively that, no, we're gonna go down this road first. So it's gonna come up at town meeting, when we go forward, is there still room available? And I wanna just be able to say, right now, the short answer is yes.
We're leaving just as much room, you can see here. We're leaving just as much room, if not more. And the good news is, if you look at the contours, see how they get real tight here? That's what's causing us some of our grading issues. They start to flatten out here. So this upland, they get uplands, right? So it's gonna be easier on drainage and easier on topography. And they have just as much land as us. It's just that the elementary school has some pretty big radiuses.
Like acreage, what is this gonna consume, you think?
What, our building?
Yeah,
All right, so we can figure that out. So,
Should we develop a plan showing a future building on it?
I think it would.
I mean, that's gonna be a question, that would be a question, Lisa.
It will be a question.
How much acreage is left there? How much acreage has this taken?
Right, and then this, you could just put a spot on the plan saying, kind of like what they did with Kelly Engineering.
Future.
We can just leave that there and just say,
For
future
future
building.
development.
Yeah.
so if you look at our footprint is about a quarter of an acre, right? What's an acre, 42,000 and some change?
43,560.
Yeah, so,
Town
all right,
hall.
so
Yeah.
this building is what,
Well, we
almost
talked about
13?
restoring the
13,
town.
so you're a
That's
third
at
of
the
it,
first meeting.
Third of an acre. A little under a third of
Yeah,
an
a
acre.
little under a third, that gives us
Plus
some
parking
scale.
lot space, you probably are, the whole site, maybe an acre and a half, 2 acres tops. Out of,
Yeah, 2 acres.
out of how many that's there, I don't remember the number off my head.
This is all one big lot, so.
I mean, you have room behind the highway department there,
Right?
that's,
Yeah, that's 50.
Across the street though,
you
Yeah,
have
I
room
just-
behind the highway department there, and some of that highway department can be,
So there's plenty of room there.
There's plenty of
The
room.
trick is sewer and well.
But we have
and we
to
also
be-
have this here, where we were talking about maybe doing a library
Right.
COA combined, and combining, take this building down, take that building down, and using one big area here,
We're
so.
gonna have to be
But they weren't
prepared
hot
for
on,
that.
they weren't hot on that idea. And so, but like I said, it doesn't, we don't have to get into specifics. If somebody asks a question,
Plenty of
is there
room.
still room available on that land for another building? The answer is yes. And
Yeah,
then
and
that
they're
way-
gonna say how much room.
And then we said
They-
out of 50 acres, we're only developing a third, or whatever we're
Well,
developing.
no, about 3 acres, so there's still 47 acres roughly.
Right.
That's still what it
That
is.
we're using 3 acres?
We're only using about 3 acres. The building
Right.
itself's a third of an
Yeah,
acre
so
plus
we'll
parking lot.
quantify our limit of work,
Yeah,
and then maybe before town meeting, we can prepare a sketch plan showing
Right.
where a future
Yeah.
building could go
Absolutely.
with some caveats.
right.
Mhm.
And then we'll have.
That will be really important
Mhm.
for everybody to be on board.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
gonna
You don't wanna
be
leave a group
really
of people
important.
out
No.
when we're just out of the gate. You know what I mean? Like, doing months of this, and all of a sudden, you have a group of people that said, no, we wanted this first, you left us out. No, we
Mhm,
didn't,
mhm.
room's here, so, all right.
So to wrap up on the materials, it's a good area view to look at. This really shows how the pilasters wrapped around these three sides would really make this building stand out. You can see the white trim, and then right now I'm showing a gray tone for the hardy plank that would blend in. So this is another view to maybe, because I would like us, I don't know if I need a vote, but some guidance that I use for the estimate going forward. And I took a view from the other side too.
Andy, if you didn't use brick, what else could you use? I mean,
Well, if we didn't use brick, I would still do the pilasters to get that rhythm.
Yeah.
But I'd probably use some fiber cement product and build almost like
I mean, I
pilasters.
think I like I like the brick, but I mean, if we're looking at anything different, I mean, I like the looks of the brick. It kind of ties in some of the traditional with updated.
The elementary school, it ties in the elementary school, which is right around the corner with the brick.
Mm-hmm, right.
Here's another view where you can see the big solar array here and out front there. And then we could also, if we did the cruiser port, you can see the cruisers peeking out there. We could put an array on there too.
Will that be in the estimate?
The array?
No, the cruiser
port, yes.
yeah.
I've already talked to everybody about that. The cruiser port will, the array won't, but the structure to support it will.
Good.
We'll make a motion to allow Andy to go forward with the design as proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And you have that, you have an 1117 with the materials I talked about. You'll walk away with it, so that's with the floor plans. So, that's about it for me, except to talk about schedule. I know what I need, because I've already talked to my consultants and the estimator. The consultants and myself need next week to pull the information together that gets sent to the estimator. Then the estimator needs till the end of the month. We're gonna get the estimate back on the 27th. And then we'd like a couple of days to go through it and whatnot. We're thinking about setting the next meeting for October 5th, at which time I'd come back to you with that estimate, after dealing with consultants. It's not just an architect's square foot estimate, it's consultants and out to a independent estimator. So that's what I'm proposing for a schedule.
So October 5th, is that a Thursday night?
I think so, if I got it right.
Yeah.
I'm going from memory.
Yes. Yep, it's the first Thursday in October.
Bob, you'll be at a regional FinCom meeting.
No, I'll be here at 4 o'clock. If I'm missing the last one though, they might come down here and drag me.
Dayless?
Why don't you get Charlie to go? Oh, I used to love those.
Okay, so October 5th, everybody all right with that?
October
Okay,
5th.
Perfect.
And we'll talk money.
In between that, what are your thoughts on, now that we have the building situated, doing some perk testing?
Well.
Do you wanna hold off on that at
well,
this
what
point, or-
I put that ball in Nathan's court.
Okay.
I said, listen, I want to do it as soon as
I know.
you feel comfortable, let's do it.
Because I looked
Let's
at
get
it.
someone out there.
Huh?
So, it could very well happen
That's why,
before
'cause I
then.
looked
If not, it would happen right after then, certainly
like
before.
the wrist
around.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, you
We'll
were
just
know
keep
for
that
the
on
next
the
one.
radar then?
Yes,
You're looking at
but,
the wrong
he wants to
stick.
be absolutely sure we do them in the right place. I've been involved with projects where we rushed it, and we end up doing borings and holes.
Yeah, I'd rather do it when we know that's where the
So
building's
we're
gonna
close
land.
enough now, we can nail it down.
Okay.
Same with geotech?
Yeah, we'll have to do a little more clearing for that though, so we'll have to decide, on the geo, I'm not so much worried about them as I am, I'm really dying to find out what the water table is.
Okay.
And that is best determined by a big hole, when you look at the profile of the soil. So, I know we'll support the building there, I'm more worried about that water table and the leach field.
Okay.
I also need everybody to start thinking about how to promote this, because, I mean, we're all working really diligently, meeting every couple of weeks. I know we have the videos going, they're up on YouTube, but I feel like we're closed off from the whole world, and I think that we need to start sharing in a very, like, aggressive way. So,
And with
we're
the-
all excited about this project, but it's not like this whole, everybody outside is excited as we
Yeah,
are.
eventually having things even just in the town hall when people walk in to take a look, when it gets to that point, so they say, oh, And how about on the website?
Yeah, we have some stuff on the website, maybe on the police website, but I think we should like start to talk about how we're gonna like start to
Yeah,
promote this.
I think really get the word out. you know.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if you guys, what you did for video, if you want to do some kind of video of what it's like now in the station, how cramped it is in the station, some of the conditions, issues that are in the station, maybe something that what we spent in the last couple of years in the station, show people have some kind of working knowledge and say, oh my God, I can't believe you're still working under those conditions.
You know, the problem is that the holidays are gonna creep up on us, and we're not gonna have time to do that. We
Right.
have time to do that now.
Right.
Because as
And-
soon as we're done with the cost estimating, then we'll know how far we have to go, and if we're gonna be able to do this, and we're gonna be pushing for a special town meeting, so we
Right.
can't wait until a special town meeting to show everybody
Absolutely.
what we've done. So I really think that we need to like start thinking about that. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit more at our next meeting.
We want to get that on the PA, the Police Association's website, the town's website, Facebook page, so that way the more eyes that can see it now, the better, I think.
And I found the last project I did that went to a vote, public vote, there's no substitute for face-to-face and approaching people and talking about it.
Right.
That building committee did an outstanding job of outreach. They made a great video. We had a neighbors night, and then we had 2 public information nights where you come into the auditorium, and we had all the information out there. It was a community that I knew very well, so a week before the vote, I made it a point to call 25 people that I knew in that community. Almost all the 25 were completely misinformed, still with all that information that went out there, and over half of them thought it was a bad idea. But when I told them, at the end, most of them were saying, hey, that makes sense, that really makes sense. So there's no substitute for that. Don't assume that people are getting out of watching the video.
No.
Talk to people about it. That's definitely the best outreach going. It really is.
Is it possible for you guys, when you have your meetings, to talk about it in front of the camera before, during each meeting?
Yeah,
Just
we
to-
talked about maybe having them come in, like having the building committee come in at the next meeting, but we're going over the warrant articles, so possibly the one after that, so then that way, it is starting to promote a little by little.
Well, and also, we get so little press now, I mean, and I think
We don't have
that's-
anybody.
no, we really have to get someone going on sending press releases, and people don't even know this is happening. And they don't know we're having meetings, so we need to,
Right, so let's all think about that, and maybe we can brainstorm at the next meeting,
Yeah.
set aside some time.
And actually having a town administrator on board now will help
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff.
when is that gonna be? What date?
He's sitting right there, so
Yeah.
you haven't met David yet.
Ah, okay.
Hold on, guys, go ahead, Rick.
We're meeting on the 5th, we should at least slate a Board of Selectmen update, by the team. The committee
Right.
is supporting it, but by the team.
Definitely by the
Yeah,
team.
so if you want to think about a date in October to do that, because, things will move fast and furious.
October's gonna be a tough month to try to fit everything in, but.
I think it would be a good time.
Well, we should, at every selectmen's meeting, just do part of either public discussion, here's a
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
committee update.
Yeah.
And, this is what we're proceeding on, and so people, it's hard to say they didn't know.
Do you think it would be too early to do it at the selectmen's meeting before the special?
Those meetings are gonna be, if we bring up the medical marijuana, recreational marijuana issues, there's gonna be a lot to those meetings.
No, we always have a Board of Selectmen's meeting before.
Oh, right before the meeting?
Yes.
Oh, that night?
So if people wanted
Yeah.
to come in at that
Yeah,
time?
maybe
then
that's when we do our little presentation.
Right.
If we wanna have something, maybe a 3D model
Maybe we
type
tie
Yeah,
thing.
it doesn't have to be long either.
No,
No.
so maybe we tie it into
Yeah.
that meeting,
Absolutely.
all right, so that'll be good.
And advertise it, so that way
Right,
What's
the
the date
people
of
can
that?
come. 18th?
October 18th.
No, we moved back?
No, October 23rd.
23rd.
Yes, October 23rd.
We moved it back.
Because the number is really what everyone's waiting for.
It's a number that
Yes.
drives everything.
So,
Yeah.
I wanna
And that's
focus on
going
that.
to, that reaction is going to tell us where we're going with this.
Mhm, exactly, so maybe.
But just getting the concept out and get it, so people know what we're talking about before, sometimes you see the number before you see the building and what we need to do and what, It's nice to look at the car before you go look at the sticker on the side of the window.
But if we had like a core group of 50 people that wanted to come and see what was up,
Oh, yeah.
then we could tell by their faces whether they were on board or not.
Right. I'm just afraid to put the number
Yeah, I agree.
right with the presentation. You know, here's the presentation, you're gonna look at that and you're gonna say, oh, look at this number, and
Right.
you might not even pay attention. Hey, that's the, you know, what a good design we have, we meet all our needs. It's been programmed correctly, it's been designed correctly.
Right, maybe we don't focus on the number at that
For-
time.
for
Maybe
that
we-
one.
We may focus just on this right
Right.
now.
But if you asked about the number,
If we have it, we have it.
you gotta say it,
Yeah,
Right.
you know?
absolutely.
But it isn't really huge if you think about the square footage.
No.
It really isn't.
Well, we don't know it yet, so it could be.
Yeah, well,
You know,
No, I mean, the money part could be,
it
but
could
the
be
square
5, it
footage
could be
doesn't.
10, you know,
It's
there's
more
a
than
huge
4.
difference.
I don't wanna see your house.
It's more than 4,
You
Mary.
have a couple of stores.
All right,
that are
anything
60.
else?
You know, I was
on the
thinking where the
committee?
bank was,
Anything else, Ed?
you know, on the end
I just
of
had
our
one more
plaza,
thing,
that's
because I was waiting
18.
for Andy to talk about the estimate, but I think one of
And
the first
that's
meetings we
not
came in, we talked about doing a
huge.
third-party estimate.
So that's what I keep.
And that would be in conjunction with Andy's, to reconcile both. But I think our recommendation right now would be to hold off on that. We do the one with CGA, and we do a third-party estimate during design development, because that's the best, that's the time where you're gonna really see what two, different estimates will tell you. So, just in case anybody had remembered that from our first meeting, I wanted to make sure that I talked about it and say our recommendation is to hold off, let's do it at DD and not the SD.
Okay. All right, everybody good? All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.